I was meeting Zionfelix right now. Me wo Sunyane parent estate on Airbnb apartment. I wo Hase na in the name say Charles Kojo Fosu that Lumba July 26 afiemu na nyame eto ninsa efreno na aye arohosan kase pa in yedi hu abobo. In fact, even Ghanaians outside the country be organize an event to celebrate that day Lumba na chai ana ebusua ade ebetu dwase nyame adoma December 6 2025 ewo Baba Yara Sports Stadium Kumase ena kese na ebitimi akoso na sa ntiewi ebaya ena Akosua Serwaa a oye that Lumba ne first wife oti Germany court se no bi koso enye ne de obesre court se court emwano na untimi enka emano na near ochin na o court no enoma 4 pe first one no ene say opese court e declare ono Akosua Serwaa say ono ene the only wife and the only surviving wife of that Lumba, because somewhere December 23 2004 and on Lumba eware in Germany, and as it stands now omoda so husband and wife according to her. Charles Kojo Fosu before his demise had a German passport or a Germany citizen, and omware German emramu omware ewo Germany omomami ensani na Duchess and omo German for, and as it stands now no who say ono kwa na that Lumba yere nti ono kwa na opese court e declare no as a Lumba wife. And another thing so also court ne say court and declare or no as the only person obetimi aye widowhood rights that Lumba yase. If you say the court declare no as the only wife the only wife, and say court and so declare no I say obetimi aye kunafo amamre as a widowhood right. And another thing so also court ne say court and so emfatabuno and as injunction and to abusua penye kofi so say o dealing with Odo Bronii as a widow and as a kunafo on any grounds emano and dealing with Odo Bronii as widow anyway. And again, the fourth thing I also say court and say court and for injunction and to Odo Bronii kasa so say emani njamba bia emfre no ho say only the only surviving wife of Lumba, and that's surviving wife of Lumba, and that's kuna sa no way and Akosua Serwaa court. Now our court no osi nipa 3 busapanyi and again osi Odo Bronii and transition funeral home baby body no edano nipa 3 way and osi omo because of feel say nipa mienu and adwumako we aye no mabia ankon square, because even when they were deciding the funeral date nimpono omunne so ho oni ho hwe do hunya ne say social media say nikunu that Lumba no ebekoso 6 December 2025 Baba ya Sports Stadium I say I don't know entene del bibia na ebushafo ene Odo Bronii na discuss because omuhu Odo Bronii as kunafo and I say the surviving wife of Lumba, and no che say there be entesa into court na court declare sa no for we na se na be ya omunya betem ho ase na eyida no ono na aginem as kunafo na no na menya me lawyer yebedi ho enkomo kakra, because in some no I will be obecheche the way emra no AC etie yentimi emu ata yentimi enconclude the way I was saying wekoba lawyer ebecheche matters nimu kakra se na be ya yeso be hu the way emra no city. I for say other na did Deutschland emra eba Ghana, I mean Germany emra ebedi no Ghana ebi say no emra since the two are Duchess ne there the German emra and I will say e obi say so unu obi ware wo US am to kontra Pakistan krampo na US emra and say it did sawa because mu ware emra na mu ware mu no obi say no Charles Kojo Fosu Ghana ni Ghana in some be na man for ka me lawyer Robert Twene and I ever discuss this and many other matters about a year. Lawyer, thank you very much.
Thank you, Miriam. It's my two me don't share one-on-one that it's an opportunity.
It's an honor for also meeting.
Thank you very much.
How many years as a lawyer?
This is my 13th year.
Wow.
Yeah, I look young, but I'm not young like that.
And I must say, your colleagues, some of your leather colleagues to the bar.
Yes.
How's it feeling like Serwaa?
Oh, it's great. It's always great. Because it's easy to go to school for so many years, and then at the end of the day, on the day of call, when your name is mentioned, it's a source of pride for yourself, your family, and then first of all, also what young coupons say to see you through all these years. It's easy, especially some of us. We had to complete the university. Also, co-university UA for 4 years, and sometimes I law for additional 5 years. So for 9 good years, we were in school throughout. Internet, that is a holiday. I decided to buy a wedding. No, that is a holiday. I mean, you also feel proud that at least you've joined the men of nobility.
Mami ready to the way. No, I say I'm here. Actually, the way she was also called to the bar yesterday.
And I would say congratulations to all of them.
Okay. I'll say 40 subjects, 40 exams, over 2,500 lecture hours, more than 8,000 hours of private studies and group discussions, 1,000 plus judicial decisions, several volumes of textbooks and monographs, dozens of enactments, and many more dozens of pens, pencils, markers, highlighters, and sticky notes. Sleepy days and sleepless nights. This is the aspect of my life which I've carefully kept away from the public in the last 5 years. Is it that difficult to become a lawyer?
It is. It is very difficult. It is very difficult. It is not easy. For instance, for me, after university, after national service, I went back, so there was no break. And for continuous 9 years, learning throughout, and easy. And I share her sentiment because I'm not and she's not the only person, because there are so many other people almost you have to be commuting from the workplace to the law school. And law school, I remember, said minimum an assistant. You start lectures at 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sometimes you can go beyond 6 p.m. every day from Monday to Friday. That's how it's like as a law student. And you don't have friends. And at that particular point in time, while here you lose all your friends, people might think, because they're oil law, because sometimes a whole lot of things that you have to work within a certain time frame. If you are not able to do that, when you go to class, you'll be embarrassed. Because cases, picking one case over 500 pages. You need to read and they know what the lecturer wants you to do. As our tutorial, you'll be embarrassed totally. It's easy. Law is very difficult. You need to just have time for whatever that you do. Easy. And even after school, you've come out easy. It is very difficult. You're always moving around. And for cases, you as a lawyer there, you serve as a conduit, as an agent for the client. And court processes are time bound. It's at any point in time, you have to work within a certain time frame. One to me, I'll call quarter, or client in a quarter, J Costa, client in our Bonica. Meanwhile, what you are, at any point in time, you have to work within a certain time frame. And it's not easy.
If you take a client to court, now say, who win, who lose, do you gain something or do you lose something?
Oh, for me as a lawyer, what I normally do is that even if I file an application, main case now you do a court now. If you file an application, now me lose I feel very bad. I feel very bad. It's normally when you come, and yes, say because I can't issue chairman and I make a court, I have to make sure personally as a lawyer, may investigate into the issues before I will say, Jack, this is a nice case, let's go to court. Because going to court is not easy. Sometimes time frame, you go to court, you drive all the way, sometimes from Accra to wherever. What to me free Accra, Echo Sefi, you also Takra, the Cape Coast, only to be told say court and answer. No means of communication. And to this day, what most of us do is that 2-3 days before the court date, you call the registrar to find out whether the court will be sitting consistently before what's set you up the next day before you go to court. Because just imagine you drive all the way from Accra to Takrade, Accra to Sunyane, Accra to Kumasi, only to be told the court and answer. Very, very frustrating. And sometimes when you go to court, the demeanor of the judge, what you go through, filing processes or court, frustrations. It's not easy. It's not easy just to go to court. It's sometimes when you don't have a clear-cut case, you wouldn't want to send a client to court because it's very frustrating. But when you are done with the case, then eventually court martial judgment, that you feel very proud of yourself. Because upon all the time that you spend in the courtroom, all the processes, calls from clients, you eventually see that at least there's something good that has come out from your efforts. It's not like that. It's not easy.
I must say, courts, no, court boha, doing kasa in a winning case. I remember I read something about, I watched a video of a lawyer be or US, you say, assembly with dear one who pan, so there was a case, Okunyo said the client ne edifo, Okumubi, but the other lawyer no end me and defend the case ni. I'm on because of what. Or you good argument to me defend them and ipana odi boneno edibem.
Well, it's like that. Sometimes that's what the lawyers will tell you is technicalities are very important in what we do. And sometimes the more now we are Juma, it is the more now we and we acquire a lot of experience. The same thing applies to any profession. As a lawyer, sometimes Uchumiko court, you see say okay, now one any sounds but on technical grounds. Okay. And of course, it does happen. We've won cases like on so many occasions on technicalities. Okay. Yeah, you know, once you have a basis technically, so this one you can easily win on technical grounds. Sometimes you might not even be interested in a substantive case because you know that what technical base are which mean they are winning case in court, and it does happen so many times. It happens so many times. And so when it comes to criminal case, sometimes police report to me, prosecutors to me, errors be it ignores to the advantage of your client. Sometimes you just keep quiet and then take advantage of that. And you know, it's true. Because if you know the only case, but on technical score, this is something that can help you to win your case. What they show more trouble is that when you're, until eventually last minute you just explode.
Oh, because there is Christopher wants me lawyer.
Oh, you see. One thing personally I have come to realize and say most people I remember those is that when I came from law school, we university I started MA law that time. Lady Biana me no Asia my sister no me juma mo bi lawyer. Oh who me otimi hwe me sa ba otimi kasa na me say one time I was person me din come. Then I gave myself up. Me dey dey no bi say na adwuma bebre o wi ase nyina manye bia na law na person me na me say no bi say me say yes, lawyers, move away, yeah, butumo. What I say? Yeah. Namsu, it just honest here, but law. Sometimes when you get a problem, I say we talk for the voiceless because when a problem now call court now need lawyer. Sometimes it's very embarrassing. It's me taking me time, and then it didn't come work a cry and I'm churching in there. My business to say. Sometimes it is not what you think. You do courtroom is about law. And your morals na account of court. Sometimes, of course, and there might be morality in law 8 mission. For instance, obi efa oyere e Ghana leg criminally and your criminal offense. It is not a criminal offense, but only chrono to me a child damage our court. They be a friend and a friend, but it's not a crime. It is a via what will be say be a ukuna and answer oyere ni obi yes and now ukuna. The law, deal with you. Or we that say obana be mana ukuni chrono. Because it is not a crime. What I say? Adultery is not a crime in Ghana. What do you mean could be just because they be out here and I say ukunu ni obi only why ordinance marriage into only obi for no, it is not an offense. Into once you take the law into your own hands and then deal with the person, because it is not an offense. By your traditional setup, okophobia a serious haram, a crime can say or traditional setup. By emramu no sanity. Into a drew baby emrano. Any morals Asia, but do a so embrane morals Asia. But once we are in the courtroom, it is about the law. It is not about morals. That's why we say the law. You call law court. You can call morals court. Okay. That is how it is. Okay. And see, lawyers. There are so many pastors who are lawyers. It drew law. We deal with the law. It drew church room. We deal with the church room. That's how it is.
But at times when you look also we'll find where we'll be different clients. Also,
well. You see, and now I say you swear, you swear an oath to defend all manner of persons, whether it's a criminal. Who is a criminal? Obi a criminal na court are convicting based on the evidence they are back court. And to say ya chi obi na you no court ya chi no we a suspect. You do could do courtroom we accused person. You already facts no to you. Ama what take you plea. Plea means that ebi a obaka say udi for and say undi for. That's your plea. Once they read the facts to you. Now we can say undi for. I was say or minor Kwa do for that is the state prosecutors. Now was on dia dance bia ehun hia e de back court e be bua for sampa we that very day when na yeah. Omo chimi farmer court you go. It does not necessarily mean that own your offense no and I don't commit that particular offense. That is how it is. It's no you drew courtroom once a client comes to you or as a lawyer ampa e be a murder case and as a rape me na me yeah e ba ne saying then you tell the lawyer what it is. Because information be na only lawyer na have be a privileged information. The lawyer cannot go to court and then tell the judge, say, my lord, my client no confess it to me, say, on a committed that offense. It's professional misconduct. And you know, or banner no be a privileged information. If you think that based on the information our client and other ultimately leading you to court, you will withdraw from the case. Then you go and then look for another lawyer.
Okay.
That is
how
you just withdraw. And they tell him, say, Ibia won't mean yet, into a different lawyer. But you don't go to court to say, Ibia, Asemna, Okachre, my lord, this is what he came to tell me at my office. It is not done like that. Yeah.
Do we need lawyer only when we are in when we are in trouble, or we need lawyer at all times?
You see, what I've personally come to realize for the last 12 years of my practice as a lawyer is at any step, like I said, law is a living science. At any step of your life, whether it's transaction, you need a lawyer's advice. Also, we seek for the advice. Now, lawyer not sure some part. The outquire no crampono, a legal, and I say legal, and I say, wait, these are the benefits, these are the consequences. After say you are done with the transaction. But normally in Ghana, and for every transaction, it is only when issues are bad, normal engage a lawyer. No, ideally, no. You must involve your lawyer right from the onset so that the lawyer will guide you as to what you should do. So that's there wouldn't be any problem, because once there's a lawyer never guide you. I'm one who say winnie I will say yeah before we get to the end of the transaction but you don't just go and then deal with the transaction. It is only when there's a problem. Look, one thing I personally mahu in recent times is most people eto properties. Land, because land is everything. Yeah. Because obeye Japadia, obeye Bibia is about land. And to me, echo transactions, millions of dollars, millions of cedis. Land documents, not mine, basa. Now, as I speak to you, the new Land Act, that is Act 1036, Emmanuel say, as I see bia water, and I say any property bia water, whether say fee, once you see as documents now, when you need a lawyer to do the land documents for you. But what do we see? And call commissioner for oath, letter writers. Normally those transactions normally they are more. When you get a problem, now you could do court time. Normally, me share land documents now me say, me was a letter writer, commissioner for oath, and as a man kasa personally. Now I make kasa last minute. What's all the baby dia dance and I'm raising issues with it. Once the court rejects your documents, automatically what lose your case. Because every transaction we are a fast as who be an manager say it was said it must be evidence in writing. Was up unya hon krata chesampa what was assassin say when ya document chese assassin way what of your simesi and I say abusunya way and I say stew way in China. Technically no what lose your case on that score. Not because it be when ya document, but because when ya only crowd was say manager say on your land documents and farm until you lose on that score. Into what I would advise and they say yeah bread and unyesika millions of dollars, millions of cedis, okoto property, I don't rush. Engage lawyers for them to advise you. When you or transaction now we agree no, you get a lawyer to draft your documents for you. That's all.
But lawyer Robert Twene and AD Nkumo. So if I say Obifa private lawyer.
Yes.
Now, because chairman lawyer, such a lawyer, no, is he on the payroll of the person or only when or executive ejuma?
Well, it depends. It depends on the arrangement. Only private person, only lawyer now. Sometimes wait me like okay, maybe within a year, measure this amount, and pay me this before we start. Then you put only the year and share because normally once I'm more year and share maybe ideally, it is better some virtual. So that's what who say when I was a me lawyer. When and I was a me lawyer and so mammy. So that's a obia on your party to the document or fat document who say, okay, these are the arrangements only a lawyer are concerning your own affairs. But what I say, and see if you're able to do that, I'm more agree. Who say these are the things that you do. Straight away, you are into business.
But Robert Twene, we lawyer Ben, you specializing in one particular field.
Yes. But in Ghana, it's very. I'm a general practitioner, and I do criminal cases. I do, civil cases, civil litigation, matrimonial cases, BBI, everything. Because I'm a general practitioner, and I've been doing this for the last 12 years. So I'm into everything. Unless maybe I decide that this particular case, If I decide not to do it, fine. But apart from that, I'm a general practitioner.
Also, you need to be including matrimonial and family cases. I'll be back after the break. Me bar, me the lawyer. Ebi di in kumana kasa na LCD. Number say you who and not be about law ne. Yakasa same bia. Ebi me a boy before we go into the real issue. My name is Zionfelix from Sunyane, and I'm a lawyer. Edi in kumo.
We are back, bringing you the latest lineup from Betway. Betway starts strong with their front two, with Free Play Friday and Swipe Bet. In the middle, you've got all the control with Cash Out and Build a Bet. Plus, with Win Boost, you can boost your sports bets. At the back, they have Smart Picks and the Partial Daily Jackpot.
You always get way more with Betway.
This advert has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly. No under 18. Terms and conditions apply. Betway. Get way more.
I was already lawyer. Robert Twene and I Edin Komo 12 years as a lawyer. I think we're running 13th year and I was starting the 13 years. Lawyer was like your anniversary.
Oh yeah.
And I 15 years.
We come back to Accra.
Okay. Alright, so I'll go back.
We do that. By Ochina, we do. I'll leave you.
Because it's not easy to be a lawyer.
It's not easy. It's not.
Peace and say enough for.
It's not easy.
9 years is cool. No joke. Now lawyer, you share asem aba Akosua Serwaa that Lumba the first wife out to Germany. The Ebusapenyi ene Odo Bronii ene transition home court meaning say who rich of some Libya. How do you see the issue? There will be much chechemu about issue.
Generally, it's about a marriage and I lead you to these issues.
Yeah.
And in Ghana, no, you our miensa I'm ready to know. The first one, if you are that is a custom marriage. Now, custom marriage, and I wore ordinance marriage, and I wore union cremo for the other three. Now, first of all, I'll pick them one after the other. Offer if you are in a, which is known by most of our traditional setup. Oba and the if you are Sawa and Emremune, because is potentially polygamous, meaning that we be mana worry if you are which we normally call the engagement system now. Which me worry more women in addition to first wife and our worry no. And in the me if you me was CCA my worry and if you are meet me and say worry biom aka ho. And I say wo Zionfelix. O worry under that system obit me worry more women. That's what the law is. Now no so no it means register or court money ye. Yes, you register it at the court, at the nearest district court money ye. And no entry say what worry under ordinance. Or register, what basically means is that it's for inheritance and succession. So that's a AB or Chinabi Unu, I bet you Zampa or Bawi Ayo. It's about the distribution of your estate. That woman and the children from her will have access to.
And you can still marry more than one.
Yes. That's
after going to the court to register that one.
What worry if you are you can marry more. Now, if you are now by ordinance marriage, that is what we call you marry under cap 127 Matrimonial Causes Act. And no worry a 1 man, 1 wife, monogamous marriage. Untumi enkofa obabia anase bima bia enka ukuna anasa. Normally it is the men who are at fault. Because who make your attempt so worry another woman under cap 127 there's an offense that I find a bigamy. Police forbid me actual, I prosecute you. I'm an IAEA because once you make an attempt to marry another woman, it's an offense under the laws of Ghana. And I know that most of these advanced countries and so on is an offense. Under that law, no procedure will go through to get married a difficult kakra. Overcall kuhun register of the court. Normal publish it, something that we call bans. Bans nature say oba ne be man baby a mokọ asọre a mo pese o mo ye aware no ye de mo bọkọ eko eyi mo akire ma sorry for say esimasi epese o mo ware na is there any person be a or ha or issue with that ada ye de mo ba kire 3 times ye be publish notice for 3 months for some I think a month or so. Once the notices are published for that period,
our church
and a court, you be much it. It's yet that stage anyway. That is the time obia or any issue between the two of us on person mobile and the ordinance. And that is the time that you raise that issue. One raise that issue and yet day na wedding no. And I say the ceremony na abeko court abeko premises wa ka say be man and I say obana obaware no kra ebi o me kanchima me na shashaware. We don't do that there. At that stage apahon oyes akra me amema ya show. Nti at that stage you can't go and then do there at that facility. But normally what do we see?
About lawyer, what if ebi a publication or church court no it is zabzugu onim ka say ware.
Once there's publication or court or for that number of period na emra na kire no one it is construed say it is notice to the whole world. And it is what may raise any issue with that am I settle that issue na or court or that's the end of it. It is a obiba at that stage no be raise the issue. That's what we call caveat. Obetimi be caveat say ma or more court no go ahead say ombe put them together as husband and wife. Okay. Into court no be the asem no be give you evidence. Obi give you evidence. Amaye hu sampa asem no e wo mu anase enim. Enim court no be true of then they will go ahead and then do that. That's what it means. Now o worry under that law so we have a certificate. You have a certificate of marriage. That's under the cap 127. You have a certificate sampa muni afani afa ma ware mo ho a emra mu no yage ato no. And then church be also anything here. Is either you do at KMA and as a registrar general and as a specialized churches are you more license to do that. It normally I was also finding out as to whether say church no crampuna or more yes idea no cran or more license to do that. And as a registrar general bit me special license to do it. And no entry say it be a designated areas are ye be no hona be no by a special license to do it. And you have a more time frame within which you have to do it. And if you don't do it, there's a problem with it. That marriage will be a nullity. When she share home, and obu or worry under if you are to say the American kind or person or convert from if you are to ordinance, and also we go through the same process. Now, say worry under ordinance if you are not be man or person or worry another marriage. What do you mean quiet ordinance? Menim so otimasia
o di kan ye fie dia
o di kan ye oba bi ehun ade efie
na second marriage don't go court
o pese okohu wanya oba foforo na pese okọ ware ni bi ma ontumi nkoye ordinance emra wunya first one no I don't know menim so otimasia
it say o di kan ware
o di kan ware it is pese o ye second marriage
so
ontumi nkoye ordinance you have to divorce before you can do that it is o emma ebia wa ware miensa and if you are now per se we ordinance marriage just so jami no manika baako and so what me because one man one wife that's how it
okay
is.
Me about
yes
in terms of my court there
yes
when you court
yes
but me say me koye obi fufuro ho wade I mean koye court me fear is it possible
won't me yes because once you marry under ordinance that is under 127 no won't mean contract any other form of marriage
with some people it is in their mind say
yes
court nko na bit ma ware baako pe but if you dey we court we that can now
once waware under ordinance you register or court that's under the ordinance marriage won't mean ware biom opeso ware biom what you need to do is just what divorce previous one and so what mean ware biom and one man one wife won't mean and yeah that's how it is in the case of the issue now, and I walk in your which is also just like the traditional system. But your main concern is the ordinance marriage now. So if it is true, say Daddy Lumba, worry under ordinance under marriage be similar to ours in Ghana, ordinance marriage, you could not contract another marriage. Don't mean contract any other marriage, boom. Under anywhere. I don't know. Meaning, what's it? You could not have contracted any other marriage. Any other marriage, if it is true, I'm choosing my words carefully because as it is, many evidence be say because what is before the court is a mere allegation, which is yet to be proved. A allegation, a busrimuka. And there was only Chrono making that allegation on Echo Court with evidence to prove to the court say ampa so they mean that the Lumba Eware under ordinance with Germany. But what I say, and if it is so, said they have that marriage with Germany, it becomes one man, one wife. You could not contract any other marriage. It is a any other marriage that the Lumba contract is a nullity by the law because foreign law is presumed to be the case.
Yeah.
It is a Omawari with Germany and Sana Omumrancha is presumed to be that is the case, as we have in Ghana. It is he could not have contracted any other marriage. But Senya Sana said, Mifan say, there's no marriage between Onyo Bia as a teaser. Now say we contracted this marriage, it will be right.
Yeah.
But say if it was done under system, it is a ordinance marriage, Ghana, only me worry about Bia Emani. But it is a wire crampona is a nullity by law.
Okay.
There's no marriage. It is presumed say that marriage is the cry Emma in a year.
And yeba and who as a continue yo am for book room ha.
Yes.
Omo be 4 wives.
Yes.
Omo trim no first wife in a court.
Yes.
No worry no.
Yes.
And other 3 no if you are in to wouldn't say a right.
No,
wrong.
It cannot be right. Because if it is the case what worry under ordinance marriage, court, Ghana ha. That's a when your baby it is on your wife. Let me put it that way. On your
you can put on side chick.
Yeah, because whether what could fee after the court wedding court marriage what could abusian for what could no any form of a friend is saying ceremonial, it is not right. It is not right.
Now,
the law does not recognize that.
You ever say me no obabe worry.
Yes.
Me nka say me no na mo nka say. Oni obabe e wo ho. Me ya mo worry under court.
Yeah.
Maybe about 2 years, 3 years. Montem ho nka mo nye hwe da.
Yeah.
Is that marriage still valid?
Yeah, you see Oshe Matrimonial Causes Act na Ordinance Marriage Matrimonial Causes Act na chreo kwanya so pese ugu court wedding na factors are court no ejina so ehwe. One of them adultery. Okay. Another one say Barney Bemano they have failed to live as husband and wife for 2 years. Okay. And I said they have failed to live as husband and wife for 5 years. And I said ebia omumu bako behave unreasonably. Okay. And I said there is desertion. You can say adultery. Me no nyina ya we say ebia wa marry under ordinance marriage. Your body is to your husband, the man's body is to the wife. And so if at any point in time biano obano and I say bima any obafu for and I say bima for koda, me as a husband or a wife, I can sue you for breach of consortium, my right of consortium, because obody is I'm the only person who has access to your body. It is like if at any point in time me your obafu for koda, me yere ebi to me sue that lady no. Because we're breaching the right of consortium, vice versa.
Yes. So only before koda.
Yes.
Why it makes you want to see obafu for no koda.
See obafu for no because we're breaching the right of consortium.
But say nka obema no on contract, on any contract.
So we no. And I'm saying what binya access to me crew and as a married body. What breaching my right of consortium because you are not supposed to enjoy the body apart from me.
But lawyer say can you out me see the encounter no contract.
Na say me crew the anya dey am the no court. Nti me see you.
So.
Yes, because some that enya name nyina make me aka jiro. What say say? Nti that it no say me ebia ma yes say adultery. Me ne me crew and I say only me crew nya that kind of affair. Na me sue for compensation for breach of consortium. That's a me jaya aware no mpo a. Me to me the oba na bi ma na only me yere and I say me crew nya sa agudie no aka case no. Emrana allows me to do that.
Okay.
And 2, if you have failure to live as husband and wife for 2 years, if you have 2 years in the month and no, it depends on the circumstance. If you are going to wait here. I know you can see that because you live as husband and wife for 2 years is a grounds for divorce. Because me know kasa you be a home come if you economic situation and I could do a man for so. Yeah. But say system say if you mental can be communication be in her. No maintenance, the be any there, and the embrano mammy home quine, Emma may me a trigger processes, court no, and dissolving marriage, Another process, and also failure to live as husband and wife for continuous 5 years. 5 years. obi antene young conquer. I mean, is there grounds for the court to dissolve the marriage? And I
dissolve no. Do you also 2 year president? Just one person can go.
No, you trigger over file a petition or court or file a petition or court. Then we serve the other party. However, no say want to me enya only Ukraine because I only non communicating to know. Want to me yana. You will be a friend of solicitor service. Over kwaje court order. Maya PC court on be some circumstances be conditions be will comply. Ebia waga just supposed to notice daily graphic and I say for copy kobo notice board of the court and I say through the WhatsApp line of the person or any family member depending on the conditions that court in the debate. Once you comply with that, the court will trigger the processes and then go to the extent the member will give you evidence. Once you are able to go through all these conditions at court in the best amount to the time at court in the give you evidence, now making orders. And I will ebia another grounds that is unreasonable behavior. Ebia me no waware. Sometimes you even deny me sex. That's unreasonable behavior because as a husband and a wife, once you marry, the marriage must be consummated and you must give your sex, you must give your partner her right or her conjugal right or say or sexy or partner. If you are doing all these things, or money, maintenance money, any other things, and there might be who abuse emotionally, physically. These are unreasonable grounds. Court to beat me, I just to say ampa. I break it beyond reasonable doubt. And then finally, a desertion. I can say desertion. Where I say ebia or banner and I say be mano. If you know what matrimonial home no, what you have for uni ho ebia only nam na we chase other things. And also a grounds. You can say desertion. Ebia say ebia wo be man wo conduct be so no and I say oba no conduct be ama oba no and I say ukunu no so atu afifie because oba oni ye bia o ye wo ho no. A man a peace of mind. And the court will look at all those things and say, our enemy between the two of you, it has broken beyond reconciliation. It can grant divorce in respect of that. These are the only grounds that under ordinance marriage court in me are granted divorce. But one thing is, under ordinance marriage, me no area first 2 years by law, unto me enco court say okwesiki for divorce. Unless extreme cases are between a court and say, be mano and answer obano or abuse you. And no, there before now, be file a petition or court no. I was say, maybe a friend lawyers back actually say leave permission from the court because by law, no one was quite not self file a petition first 2 years of your marriage. You can't do that. And to just say, now court demonstrate, check court and say, ampa. And now, quite way are mikro and I say, Mirena, edeme fashion, and ya they say me to me. Aware into court room who can file a petition. A basa na court room the opportunity to file the petition, then you can trigger the processes. Yes, that's how it is. There's another issue, and then the Mohammedan marriage. That is a union for there, and that's what you said the traditional way in the same thing. But one thing is, say no is key for dissolution of a marriage. Every property be acquired over the period will be shared by the court. Will be shared by the court by 50-50 principle. It depends on
what.
Yes.
Any property acquired whilst married together. Yes. I say whilst when the two of you did together.
No.
Also, you were worrying, but me, my baby.
Yes.
You know, it was something mean.
Yes.
But the me no can answer the me quiet.
You see, you can say properties are matrimonial properties are. You can properties are you acquired during the time of the marriage. It is a me fan say Abia Zionfelix. Waware ono irete. Obiya is a big time YouTuber, have a lot of money. You've done A, B, C, D. Ebi amega say oyere enye adwuma ofie. Ono so na hwe nkwada. Ono SCC fie, wo no namfofo kwa ono SCC fie ma who say my wife has indeed shown my friends that I have a very good wife. Ono show ma those things. The law will take into consideration all these things that can say properties na my and you no any amount of free mind to go about your daily activities what you acquire all the properties within that space, it should be entitled to 50% of the properties.
50%?
Yes. So
it's a safe feeling.
Yeah, it's 50-50. But you see, one thing I normally I've also noticed is that to say they are from Papa for now almost show you can say as a bossy when it comes to affairs at the home.
Yeah.
It's in the background sebi okoye wela properties no my over the period not on what say me the way my way by law. Oh yeah wela na say properties na o cheno. a matrimonial properties your 50% that you are entitled is what you can will out. Yes, your 50% now you are entitled. No, that is what you can will out. Want to mean fact the entire 100% of the properties? No, can say mediama way. Well, yes, you are going to after your demise you face a problem because there will be a litigation. If you are wife, will be a infant say or no property centered. Now, Obako court and interest say one interest 50%. And 50% of the properties end up between the archer, but not the entire 100%. However, say we are lucky. Maybe all the properties in the on any man and say there's no problem because nobody will go and challenge. But say why yes sir? And I say all the properties outsiders because you can will your properties whoever
you want,
whoever you want. Until all the properties then come out and Crawford raising issues your will can be challenged in court.
To make sure say 50%
of course it is your 50% that you can will, not the entire 100%. Until we must all take notice of some of these things.
Lawyer chair, your man, lawyer, young call issue no as a case study. Na yen hwe number 4 na Akosua Serwaa say on here court no. I am no. First of all, let's make it clear.
Yes.
Say Akosua Serwaa nka say the injunction 2 no so.
Yeah.
Injunction 2 per case no say or the injunction 2 abusapanyi say e man refer to Odo Bronii say kunafo.
Yeah.
And then again, or the injunction to Odo Bronii kasa so say e man njama bia enka say kunafo any two injunctions that case name. And the first two Odo Bronii Akosua Serwaa sorry court say first one say court and declare or no Akosua Serwaa say or no na the living spouse of Charles Kojo that Lumba.
Good. I'm picking one after the other. The first one, the issue I raise is a court who say on the only surviving spouse of Daddy Lumba. First of all, no, to say the kind, all those things now were indicating the process rate in our file or court allegations. And she has to go to court to go and improve. Want to me improve the court will not grant those the issues now or can was no. Now it was a we have to make sure that as it is, I don't know whether an injunction application has been filed or not. I can't speak to that because what I've seen, rate, but normally, by law, there's a Supreme Court decision I just say when a person goes to court, say may know issues, now me call court, whether the court has granted an injunction or no injunction, no. The very things now me complaining about, and I'm saying me person court you can't proceed. Until either or granting injunction or no injunction, you cannot proceed.
So, Metiasia,
yes,
it's our 2 injunctions now or cannot, or won't mean twice one yet.
Reliefs now, or Siki for no, or court no, and number 4 now, or Butcher, Mrs. no. Whether the court has, I don't know, as it is, I don't know whether, because me who is only a copy of the rate. And me who say, if your lawyer is not filing motion for interlocutory injunction, say, if my anybody no. My funeral no in the celebration me who be but the rate no na but I'm saying say by law by the Supreme Court determine ki expertise do for Republic vs High Court Accra expertise do for Supreme Court say when say obi file process or court na say person court no ye number be manner say court na grant injunction no court no granting injunction and your man only chrono person court no your man no nobody can proceed unless you should hold on unless the court determines the matter and says a funny no court na awi assembly say na court na chile these are the orders our court na here and as it is whether or not say filing injunction which I've already indicated I'm not aware but I'm speaking based on the rate number huna still now no we can't proceed.
They should hold on.
We have to hold on. We have to. The court will have to determine whether to say they're mature now. We're making allegations in her claim. Say, or no, the only surviving spouse. Until I was say, or they are dancing. Eba court a betche sampa. Ebia no that the Lumba. I worry 2004. Say they indicated you know. And this is the marriage certificate. Say you know, say as at the time now, only that the Lumba. You know, say no more worry ampa under a law in Germany. It is say yeah under ordinance. And then what it means is that Daddy Lumba could not have married another woman. It is if any other form of marriage, it will be a nullity. Lawyers say it's a nullity. It can't be right. Unless we are able to say ABS no, even though it was done in Germany, but they perform it under Ghanaian setting. That is ABS Ghana for our and by a ordinance marriage similar to that of what we have in Germany. But if you are custom marriage Germany but what did mention?
Yep.
Ebi omoye and it's a Ghanaian setting. I can custom marriage in a ebi omo contract or Germany, which means that he could have gone ahead to marry another woman. Yeah. But yes, something similar to what we have as ordinance marriage. He could not contract any other marriage. Into marriage, biana that the Lumba contract be by law no will be analytic.
And of course, as I said earlier, people are also questioning say
yes.
why are we using German marriage law to come to Ghana? And
you see, there will be a conflict of laws. See, you crowd there are too common. For instance, Abia what free her, what free Ghana, what are only new crack what na UK. Okay, makonya issues. More invoke UK court to dissolve the marriage for you because you're afraid be less contractus because less celebrationists. Maybe more performing more marriage, the UK court will be compelled to use Ghanaian laws.
Okay. Because what
you marry under a different legal regime, it be different from that of UK. Into if you are if you are in Ghana, UK does not recognize if you are into the Makutran UK as if you are domiciled in UK now. Makunya issues as husband and wife are more person dissolve marriage, but because the UK courts do not recognize laws, do not recognize customary marriage in Ghana. They will apply laws of Ghana, even though it's a UK court, but they will use the laws of Ghana to adjudicate the matter there because celebrating marriage in Ghana. It will use the laws of Ghana to do that, even though you are in UK courts are going to dissolve the marriage, but they will use the laws as we have it in Ghana to dissolve it.
Where you married,
no? Where you married to resolve the matter. So many things. For instance, to say Matisse will be so a raising issue. Say that's all more worry with Germany. Adena, omo Ghanaian courts. All the parties in our more closest connection here. The marriage is, if let's assume that the Lumba or Ghana, you be in a year or Ghana, the BBI or Ghana. Until you can't go to the German court for any because Oko German court, no more could dissolve marriage in Ukraine. Oba, you need to register the judgment of the German court in Ghana. How be any dissolving marriage? The processes have gone on. Until there's no need. Until once all the contracting parties and I say and conform more closest connection to the whole issue, Ghana. The Ghanaian courts have the right to assume jurisdiction and then determine the matter. There's nothing wrong with that.
I also listened to the funeral chairman of Lumba, Collins. Now, and also chair say, "Ebushapeni, I say Ebushano, and I have the right to say when you also yekuna, when also yekuna. Is that it or say nipana or your wife no, and at all times or yekuna?
Is if he says that can never be right, because everything about marriage, is regulated by law. And to say if it is a case, I'm choosing my words carefully. If it is a case that the Lumba, any Madam Serwaa, worry under German law, similar to what we have here as ordinance by law. Look, there's something that let me draw your attention. It doesn't matter if you are master pretty for even 20 years, 30 years. Once Omonko court bia Germany, and as a court bia or Ghana say, or more dissolving marriage, it doesn't matter the number of years that they have separated. They are still couples. And it's by law. If it is true, say Ampa Omoware under law in Germany, similar to the ordinance marriage in Ghana, by law, she is the only recognized person who are performing the necessary rights as a widow. No any other person. Because if Sedadi Lumba echo contracted any other marriage apart from the one and existing between Onesa Madam Germany, according to her, Omoware say if it is true. That's you dissolve that marriage before any quarter. It is that marriage that is still recognized because won't mean contract any other marriage apart from that one.
Okay, so with the ordinance now, Uche say
yes,
it can only be dissolved maybe after 5 years.
Yes.
So and yes, automatically money one dissolve. As a more process.
It was all court. O file petition court say maybe for the last 5 years, 10 years, maintain been done and because of that, we can no more continue to live as a husband and wife. And the court to take evidence and then dissolve the marriage. Divorce certificate.
Okay.
Divorce certificate means ampa wawari be our contract in 2004 or 1990 between A and B. Court not dissolving. Now you are no more attached to any other person
Okay. But it's more they are divorced.
By law, the marriage is still subsistent.
Okay.
The marriage is subsistent. It is a me fan say the mama no can no crese ampa on no worry 2004 and the marriage is there. It doesn't matter the number of times or years or more leave their separate way. Once among court, Emma court and make a pronouncement said the marriage is dissolved. The marriage is still valid. And Daddy Lumba could not have contracted any other marriage if it is the case.
Okay.
Yes.
Lawyer, may I say, and you know, say your quarrels why
well, it depends. It depends. It depends on the type of marriage I say. You know, most African men are potentially polygamous, and for me, my observation with cases are, especially when it comes to divorce cases or court, I've come to realize that it is only when they get money that they get what they want. And you know, to be on the safer side now, if you don't want, stick to your traditional marriage. If you get money and then you want to go ahead with any other thing, then you can trigger another
ladies
process.
also do say that the traditional marriage will not also help them.
Why? It is recognized by law.
Yeah, but I mean, Osha ordinance no favor more.
Ordinance because you cannot contract any other marriage.
And then again,
what
what
happens if you've contracted marriage under ordinance and you're cohabiting with another lady? Well, of course, the only disadvantage is that ultimately am performing the necessary right of the lady now in the cohabiting. But only now, when recording programs in a way, technically, no, you are there, but I say you are not. Because whenever there's any, if you are not there tomorrow, now say any interest, the interest of the kids will be catered for by law.
Now, under the traditional marriage,
yes.
If there's divorce,
yes, it's still the same process. Whatever process, when my no, it is a me traditional marriage, or be 2-3 wives. More worry certain period, more acquire properties over the period that will be our interest in the properties. That's how it is. It shall be shared based on the contribution. I mean, based on Obia quota property no there. If I may buy only first one more car, and as a must down 3 rooms. Second one must way into properties in Obia our interest in any of them. What
if I made properties before the marriage? I know
if you made properties before the marriage, yourself acquired properties, they do not form part of matrimonial properties. It is urban so me say or also a property and properties before now one no area and form a part of the matrimonial properties. However, if there's a property, ebia maye mumie no nyina maye ebia mokoji loan and amode na say muntua loan no wie nya. It does not form part of matrimonial unless it is established that matrimonial loan na wie as a part of matrimonial properties. That is one thing that you have to know.
Somebody is also questioning, say, what is it with kuna for almost say as a Asante for not even with the case of Lumba ne Akosua Serwaa Odo Bronii. As a was as a Asante for edufunu ama sebi obi free ma afini ebe twetwetwe ho and this is not the first case. It has happened severally. I'm sure so a lawyer what the baby achieve.
Oh yeah, it is true. Me personally, my cases are it is not only Ashanti, so my brother. It is dominant within the Akan areas. When I say Akan tribe, no. Because do you know there? Let me tell you. Let me be philosophical here. When him say, men. For me, as a lawyer, I will tell you, men are born for women. Do you know that? Especially if you take the bold decision to marry. Do you know that within the Akan setup, your kids, they are not part of your family? Do you know that?
Yeah.
And you know, as a man, to some extent, you are the only stranger in your home. Because if you are not there tomorrow, let's assume, say, some of us from the Akan communities are extended family members in school, and you be through this level now. Ochina bi unni ho ebia want me anya well emergency wawu under road traffic offenses and as a accident wawu under emergency you couldn't even execute any will for your properties wawu. We use the PNDC law 111 to share your properties and about 75% of the properties go to your wife and your kids. You understand? So what it then means is that all the toll
they will not benefit from you.
What you can do is that whilst alive, you don't know when your maker will call you. At least you try to do something small for your family. you do what you can for your family. Then you do what you want to do for your kids. So that's a yes, I'm not trying to be free man. Embrano is against you. So technically, no, all the struggles are Obusian for struggle, they struggled in vain. Because the most important thing, why do I know more? We'll go and put the body somewhere after burial. That's where the rare issues will start. Because say if what's it dying, it be a 30 bedroom now no you don't know matter. No china be you have buy the PNDC law one, they will have it. Well, you have one house, they will have it.
Yeah, the more you talk, the more I get questions because we want to educate people more.
Yes.
You ever say I am married right
Yes.
now, and then I built a house for my mother.
Yes.
My cousin, if you there, me mama and papa there.
Yeah.
But documentation, me na me din also.
Yes.
Na me ye jaya.
Yes.
I say be me free moi.
Yes.
So if you know, I say mama there by my word of mouth, be a dia to say mama there no.
Yes.
Is that still say me never check?
Yes. You see, Emram Rebecca shows where there's documentary evidence, there's a conflict between documentary evidence and oral evidence. Documentary evidence and SFI. To say scenario now the mommy no. What's he dying? Who see dying? No documents they are in your name. No one catch your mommy say your mommy there. But there's once you're not there, there will be nobody to come and say and remember when we go to court, the name of the game is evidence. It's about evidence. Into once documents.
Of course.
Into what you do is that under that circumstance, what you do is that the becheno, no what that was it. The becho mama no papa, no mad that was in the presence of witnesses. And no the ones that obey side no better was no. When you are not there, nobody can go and then claim say odia. What I say to contest that matter in court. Into upa o de becho mo no mother was say oh yeah ope and am se for kakra no ma betina se no ma resampa ma sit down we na me ma me papa and am ade o ma ya ma menti no me pese me de cho mo o de cho mo no mother was in the presence of witnesses and no de o chena be if you are not there nobody can contest but say one yes ade no emramu emo mo na was na say documents ni nyina in your name it is presumed say there because documentary evidence no will suffice over any oral evidence and people can challenge it in court and be successful.
But me find one example
Yes.
on this case as well.
Yes.
Right now I am not married, but I have kids.
Yeah.
And then maybe two of my houses.
Yeah.
I'm a man, you know.
Yes.
Say we a first born there.
Yeah.
We a second born there.
What that child man I say what that mom which is which?
Me that chong.
Yeah.
So if I say when I am no more,
Yes.
of which be 5,000 years to come.
Yeah.
Maybe because me ne on my prince and worry na ebusha for back. No on me ka say
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you have no right over the property. I don't know anything.
You see, what is happening is that once I'm in business, I say, oh, they are child man and so they are mom. Are there any documents that are
The documents are in my name.
They are in your name.
Yeah.
It will not suffice because you see, the law is that so your parent, or your papa, now your property, now the oba, any document. Normally, most people in Ghana do that. Or motor property.
Because I have a car,
the law is presumed that Ode Amana as a gift.
Okay.
It is presumed that Ode Amana as a gift. But so Obano mum eto property, no they will be money din it is not presumed that Ode Amana as a gift. That's the law. It say Omana Okano. Opa say to be on a safer side.
Okay.
Opa fachomo. What the chomo no matter was. And as which remember a document to say a document deed of gift. What codified to say the wire will say these properties A and B, A media chami ma amo madamase. So that when I'm not there tomorrow, once you gift it to them, no more dawasina, it is perfect. However, all the more no more dawasia, or more property as a gifter by law, no to me revoke as a father.
You can
still do that. You can still do that. That's the law. And to be on a safer side, no, you can just announce which mean a transfer in their names to indicate some part. It used to be yours, but what they are more, the kids have taken control over that property, so that their respective mothers can take charge and then use it to, provide necessaries for them.
So in this same case where I've given to them as a gift.
Yes.
If I say may they run a business, probably I'm using it as an Airbnb.
Yes.
When maybe that's how
Yeah.
but may they run it as a business.
Yeah.
So those funds maybe a papa they run it as a business, no. Also a quite in crane ho, and I say also a papa.
Of course, but Edna make sure say it depends. What they are more mother was here, and I say what they want on a keke. So what they want on a keke, or more meda was here. Gift no perfect.
Nyamodia.
Aha. But so what they are more Emma mo ebia mo maame nom aba beda wase on behalf of the caterer. Title has passed to them. And it is who making any deals from it as ABNB. You are holding those monies as a constructive trustee for them, meaning that the money belongs to the kids. But because ABA or take hold or Sikebia or make it from it be and Yankwadane, you are just taking care of it for them. Yeah, of course, they can do that. But say Omunyam perfect gift now, complete legally. Complete, they cannot challenge you. Okay. Especially say ABA Omu Medawa say in the presence of witnesses. What they say, complete. But say what they are more Medawa say satisfy the requirements of the law. It is perfect gifts. Whatever monies that you're making, you are just holding it as a constructive trustee for them. That's what it means.
Lawyer, that's a part. What be a number and it's so actually. Final words to
what I would say is in respect of that the Lumba issue, I believe strongly that the Lumba is a global figure. And that day I met that news and I was driving and I felt so bad because me come be a long distance be a case be a Lumba na metie. It's I was hurt as a person, as a lawyer. It's I believe strongly issues now in the media Of course I've seen a court process, so it means that it is true. And yet just a mere allegation. I'll plead with the parties now must settle down to trash the issue so that at least all of us can go and then mourn with them and then give him a befitting burial. That's what I would say. That's what I would say to all the parties because that Lumba is a global icon. Yeah. Yes. That's what I would say.
Lawyer. Yeah. Lawyer Robert Twene and I didn't come here in Sunyane. About everything concerning marriage and you kind of baby na ya so I'm sure say only who kunu he no wo kunu so he I say we come with but you how I be no say be at the end of the day no emfa issue be emre some people are planning say I want to make properties before I marry say be me worry we are you because me church no be and then lawyer can't I'm sure as time goes on lawyer every day you come be say be we be no ni so because arabona ebo nyina no emra
everything is about law,
which is very 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 important. Meeting Zionfelix, thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.